Hey guys, welcome back to another episode. It's been a while since we put anything out, but we're here today to remedy that. So what we're doing today is we're going to be taking a look at my brand new, to me, stream setup that we use for these arcade cabinets. So I've always kind of had to hodgepodge things together and kind of make something that would just kind of work. So I got kind of tired of that. So what I did was basically make a fully custom movable cart that I put my new stream rig on with some old tech, some new tech, and kind of some stuff kind of in the middle there that makes everything come together and work pretty well. So let's go ahead and jump in and check out the build of the new arcade rig streaming setup. Let's go. All right, here we go inside the case. So the first thing you'll see in here is we've got a new power supply. We're running a Seasonic SSR 550. That was a Goodwill score. It was about a $20 power supply. It's pretty solid. It's like 550 watts. It's more than enough what I need to get this going. But this is the current arcade streaming rig from the inside. So nothing really fancy in here. We've got an i7 6700. Right now we've got 16 gigs of RAM. We're going to go up to 32. But down here is really the star of the show. We've got an old GTX 1050. On the bottom we have a Camlink Pro, and you can maybe see it a little bit, but actually in between the GTX and the Camlink Pro there's a DataPath E1S capture card in there. Hard drive, I've got an NVMe. You can kind of see it down there in the back. Little hard drive there, and really just not a lot of stuff in here. I just want it set up for the bare minimum, so I don't have any extra hard drives right now. I might pop a solid state or something like that in here, but overall this setup is just meant to be clean, efficient, and get everything going. So let's go ahead and check out all of our connections next. Alright, so the base of the entire stream rig is an older Dell Precision 3620. Picked this up from a local college auction, FSU auction. Really solid computer, has more than enough power for what we're going to need to do to stream arcade games. So this particular model is an i7 6700 Intel processor. It's a 3.4 gigahertz. When I got it, it came with 16 gigabytes of RAM, but a good friend sent me an additional 16, so we are now running 32 gigabytes of DDR4 RAM. Our main video processor in this is an older NVIDIA GTX 1050, just a stock one. These cards are actually really good for streaming as they don't require any additional power connectors. They just pretty much run off the standard power. So even though we did put a beefier power supply in this computer, it isn't really needed, but this is a solid card if you can find them for a fair enough price. Okay, so now we're getting into the actual capture part of this the stream rig. So this tower actually has two different capture cards. The first one here is probably the more important one. It's an older DataPath E1S capture card. You can find these on eBay, usually for about $100 to $150. But these things are fantastic. They pretty much capture any kind of format and resolution that you throw at them. So it's an absolute necessity when you're using things like arcade games that you have to upscale, because a lot of times these games run in really weird refresh rates or resolutions. So absolutely a necessity for streaming weird resolution arcade games. Okay, and the final capture device of this rig is actually the newer Camlink Pro. It has 4 HDMI inputs, so this allows me to run cameras such as the Sony Handycams, GoPros, things like that. And it's also nice because it takes a lot of stress off of the computer. I used to run everything through webcams, and it would just destroy the processor and tie up all the resources. This card pretty much alleviates 95% of all those resource hogging things. So absolutely fantastic card. A little pricey, but 100% worth it in my opinion. Alright, so now we get to the cart part of the stream cart that I built. So again, what I needed was something kind of custom that I could use in my setup. So I wanted something just the right height with casters on it that I could roll around, you know, could tuck under the control panel of each candy cab and kind of have all the stuff I need. So what I decided to do was use 3/4 inch plywood for the top and bottom panel and some just basic 2x4s for the legs. And then I have 4-inch tall medical grade casters on the bottom. And those casters are actually pretty heavy, and it's nice is they're able to roll over carpet, or you know, if I have a cable on the ground, I can roll over everything pretty easily without having to really worry about it getting stuck on anything.
So here's just some early photos of me cutting everything to size, screwing everything together, and making the main structure of it. You can see that hole that I have in the top there. We're going to jump into that next, but that was a necessity for how the cameras are mounted. Alright, here we are just painting everything black. I don't like the color of bare wood. It's kind of bland to me, so just quickly threw some black acrylic paint on it to make it fit a little bit better in with the room, make it look less like plywood like it is. Again, you can kind of see the casters here on the bottom. Each one has its own lock, which is kind of nice just in case you bump into it. But yeah, just throwing some black paint on it to make it look a little bit less Home Depot-y. Alright, so here's the fully painted cart, and here's where you can kind of see how that hole that we had drilled and talked about on the top comes into play. So basically what I'm using here is an old broken monoprice lighting rig stand. I used to use this for pinball streaming. Over time, one of the legs got snapped from moving it so much, so basically what I did is I broke all the legs off, just used the main telescoping pole, and I cut a hole in the top, a 1.5-inch hole in the top, feed it through, and then in the bottom what you're seeing there is a plastic, just a 3D printed thing that I quickly designed and printed up, and basically it's got a 1.5-inch hole in the top. The bottom has some holes there for screws, so it just feeds through that top panel, fits into the little brick mount that I printed up and got attached to there with some wood screws, and it holds it really, really secure. So no matter if you bump into it or whatever, it's no longer going to fall over. The big reason why I wanted to use this was not only to recycle the stand, but also using microphone stands. They're great, they work awesome, but the higher you go with them, the more wobbly they get. So if you accidentally bump it, there's a good chance your camera can fall. So having a setup like this with beefier 1.5-inch hardware and that heavy base with the wheels, this thing's really not going to go anywhere. All right, and here is a image of the computer itself kind of sitting horizontally on its side on the actual cart. So you can kind of see I've got some of the pigtail stuff dangling here. On the left, we've got our Ethernet extension. This way I don't got to reach all the way in there to plug in or out for landline internet. In the microphone input, I have a ground loop isolator. We'll talk a little bit more about that when we get to audio, but a really cool little sub $10 thing you can add to your stream if you're using a mixer. Really helps with audio clarity. And then on the right, what all those little pigtails are, they are 4 1-foot-long HDMI extensions, and I have those set up again so I can have an easier access to plug and unplug cameras if I need to, without having to actually plug and plug directly from the CamLink Pro. So having those little pigtails really is a time saver. It makes everything easier when you're moving cameras around as much as I do. Alright, so the thing I get asked the most about streaming arcade stuff is how are you capturing the video, how are you capturing the audio, directly from these boards. These old games and machines, a lot of them didn't have video out sources, so luckily we've got some cool people in the hobby that have made devices that make this infinitely easier for us. So these are the two that I use. There are some additional ones out there, but these are the two that I want to focus on. We have 2 devices that we're going to be talking about. The first one is the Splitfire, and the second one is the Betsu. Okay, so up first we've got the NAC, or the NorCal Arcade Club, I believe, built these, the Splitfire. And how this works is you can see there we've got a male and a female JAMA edge. So you take the female end of the Splitfire, clip it directly onto your arcade board. You then take your arcade cabinet's JAMA harness and plug it onto the male end of the Splitfire. And then on the right hand side you see we've got a VGA out, which really isn't VGA, it just uses a VGA cable, which is sending the raw 15K RGB signal out of the JAMA board. We also have a 3.5 headphone jack that sends the audio out of those. On the left hand side we have 2 pots. One is for the overall brightness display or capture from the device, and the other one is the audio level output. I've added a little voltmeter there just because I get paranoid about that stuff, and I want to make sure that my boards are running as close to 5 volts as possible. But basically you run those cables, your VGA and your headphone cable, into your capture device. So what I use is I plug this into a OSSC, and then I have that upscaled into the capture card. But that's pretty much the main features of the Splitfire. A really simple device, and it works amazing. You can check these out on the arcadeprojects.com forums if you're interested in picking one of these up. All right, and up next we have the Betsu, which as you can see is sort of similar to the Splitfire in that it's got a male and a female JAMA edge. Same idea, you're going to place the female edge onto your actual arcade board. The male edge goes into the arcade cabinet's JAMA harness. The big difference here is the Betsu actually outputs video over a mini DIN RGB SCART cable. So you output the SCART to your OSSC. Same idea for audio. It's got a 3.5 millimeter audio out. This one, however, does have a direct RGB level. So you see you got your 3 pots on the right hand side. You can adjust individual RGB as well as volume on that middle, that little pot towards the left side there. The Betsu, both of these devices work great. I will say that the Splitfire handles some of the more weird signals a little bit better than the Betsu. Not that the Betsu's bad. I use both regularly. I'll swap stuff out all the time. Betsu is a little easier to come by. The Splitfire, they're ramping up to start producing more of those. Either one of these is going to do you great. The only time you're going to run into an issue with the Betsu is if you're running like Taito F3, some of the more weird, obscure outputs. But as the OSSC gets better and the OSSC Pro is right around the corner, in the future, I'd imagine it won't be an issue for either one of these devices. I would highly recommend both of them. Alright, so here's kind of a view from the cockpit over here. We got the Chulix in the corner. Here's what we're going to be focusing on in this video, the ERIT 2 vertical cab. Next to that, we've got the Windy, and then tucked all the way over there in the corner, we got the Blast City. But basically, how this whole system works is down here we've got our PCB. And we've got it, actually, let me turn on the light here for us. We actually have it set up on the Splitfire. So the Splitfire, it actually sends out video and audio from the left over there. That then wires down to the PC in the back here, and then the audio is actually captured here in my mixer. So in my mixer, I've got everything labeled here. So you see, I've got an auxiliary input if I need to. I've got my game audio, and then my microphone 1 and microphone 2. So the game audio actually comes here. I can control the level here, which in turn then brings up here onto, let me turn this light off, onto OBS. So you can see you can monitor your real-time audio levels here on the bottom. See the microphone's picking my voice up. So I kind of handle everything here. We've got our video feeds in here. You can kind of see me over here in the corner. We've got the room cam behind me, and then we also have the fan cam over here on the bottom. And then there's our game capture, and as you can see, it's pretty spot on. There's really not any delay or lag from what I'm playing to what you guys are actually seeing. So that's kind of how the game capture itself works, and we're going to talk more about the Splitfire, kind of what it does and how it works. But basically the game plugs in down there, video gets passed through, and audio controls get passed through to the arcade itself, and then the video is captured down there on the PC on the capture card. Audio is captured over here, fed through everything into the computer, which is then captured here on OBS. So what we'll do is we'll take a closer look at the camera setup and audio setup and everything that we have set up for this. Alright, so my camera setup, I'm actually using older style Sony Handycam for the overhead camera, and then this camera's main goal is as I'm playing, it actually kind of focuses here on the control panel, which you can see in the stream. You can kind of see my hands and controls and what I'm doing. We also then have over here next to my light, we have another Sony Handycam which points at me as I'm playing. Basically kind of captures my shot here from the seat. You can also kind of see behind me where I've got my old monitor and everything set up. And then over here in the corner behind me, we actually have an old GoPro setup for kind of an overall fisheye lens kind of view of the game room, which kind of captures all of the cabs, everything that's kind of going on there as well. Now I also have one of my favorite little things that I've added that gets a lot of love, a lot more love than it probably should have, but I've got my old C920 camera actually here mounted on top of my old camera here. So it might be blowing some air into the mic, but basically as the as the fan oscillates, we actually get the camera kind of sitting on top, which creates more of a like a security looking camera image for the actual stream itself. So then I also have up top, I've got my light which lights it up, makes it a little bit easier for the cameras to kind of pick me up. But this is an overall kind of quick view of my arcade setup and the actual Frankenpole setup, if you will. So it's on an old broken monoprice lighting rig camera that I convert it to kind of go into that wooden cart that we talked about. And then on the bottom, I've got the computer that I built. I've got our OSSC here. I also use a GBS AIO kind of upscaler. Got a little vertical monitor here that kind of lets me control everything and see everything as we're playing. And again, here's kind of a view from the cockpit. So we'll throw some stream capture footage on here and check out the rest of the hardware.
I don't know what they go for now, man. It's hard to... And like, it's just a board that you don't see too often. Like I think I've maybe in my days seen 2 or 3 of these for sale, like legit ones. One was a full kit, so it was astronomical, but... Shit! That junk is tough, man. Like, when it gets like super close to you like that, and you're trying to like... There we go. On the bosses, I always try to like hit it above them and let it come down and hit them just so you have room to deal with their projectiles. I don't know if that's like the preferred strategy or not, but it seems to be worked the best for me.
Alright, so I hope you guys liked that new video of the arcade stream setup. Every Monday night we do stream live on Twitch, twitch.tv/PastBlaster. I'll put that there. You guys can kind of check that out. So I'm going to leave you guys with a little bit more stream footage of the last setup, and then next time we're going to jump into some more of the custom control panel and setup stuff that we've done. So thanks for tuning in, guys, and I'll see you on the next one.
You guys sit tight. I'm going to go grab a drink. We will be right back. Enjoy the security camera room. Check out the setup. If you have any questions on the game or the setup or anything that we're doing, let me know. But you guys sit tight. We'll be right back. It's going to get a quick